to make the best decisions they can for the citizens of Kingston. We ask that you guide us and help us as we go through these deliberations. We ask that you keep us ever mindful of the needs of others, and we ask that you ever keep us mindful of your Son who died for us on the cross for our sins. And we praise you every day. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Thank you, Mr. Giles. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Brackett.
Here.
Councilmember Brown.
Present.
Councilmember Childs.
Present.
Councilmember Humphries.
Present.
Vice Mayor Stockton.
Present.
Councilmember Wright.
Present.
Mayor Neal.
Present. Do you hear a motion to approve the previous minutes?
I'll make the motion. Second.
I have a motion second. Any corrections or deletions?
No, sir.
Madam Clerk, call the roll on the minutes, please.
Councilmember Brackett.
Yes.
Councilmember Brown.
Yes.
Councilmember Childs.
Yes.
Councilmember Humphries.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stockton.
Yes.
Councilmember Wright.
Yes.
Mayor Neal.
Aye.
7 ayes.
All right, now we set aside the time for citizens' comments. Is anyone wishing to appear before the council tonight? If there are, please come up and state your name and address and discuss what you got. Okay, so does anyone want to come up and make a comment to the council? Okay, seeing none, we'll go into reports, the mayor and council. We'll start with Ms. Humphries. You have a report for tonight?
I just wanted to mention that we did have to change our date for the Street Fest. It's now April the 11th. There was a conflict with the old courthouse. Their gala was on the 4th, so we changed it to the 11th. And also, we'd just like to compliment our Park and Rec guys for getting all the driftwood off of the boat slips. They worked very hard for several days on that, and they've really done a good job. I think we should compliment them. That's it.
Mr. Childs?
Nothing much better. I'd like to compliment the police department for some assistance I had to lose my cell phone a couple weeks ago. Done a really good job, and it was in my bag, so thank you.
Just fantastic. Ms. Stockton?
Just have two things. One with beautification. We have a new mural that will be on display that the youth leadership of Roane County has painted. It will be out next week, and that'll be something exciting for people to see. And also an update with the Outdoor Kingston. At the dog park, Deputy Sparks and his work crew will be starting on the arbors for shade for the summer. So that'll be starting, he said, within a week or two.
Mr. Brackett, do you have anything? Ms. Ryan?
Okay.
Mr. Brown?
Since our last meeting of the Emergency 911 Board, the board has hired a new director, Mr. Cody Anderson. He will be appearing before this board in the March meeting, if we can give him a little time, just to introduce himself.
Anything else, Mr. Brown? All right, I'll make an announcement. In my report, I've got two appointments to the Planning Commission. I'm going to be appointing Jody Tipton and Chris Clifton to the Planning Commission to fill 2 vacant seats. I'll turn it over to the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. I had just a few things here in addition to my written report. To update you, last month I mentioned the home grant. Found out that unfortunately we won't score high enough this cycle to be approved for funding. We're pretty optimistic that we'll be within range by next year, and we'll certainly update you as that gets closer, but we will not be able to submit an application on that this cycle. Speaking of grants, I've been approached by a couple of people about looking at the city pursuing an LPRF grant this year to make lighting improvements to the ball fields at Southwest Point. The applications aren't due until this summer, probably June or August. So there's time to put it on the workshop agenda as soon as next month. If any of you would like to have that added, just let me know. Just a reminder, it is a 50-50 grant, so we will be responsible for half of that, but if that's something we wanted to talk about, we do have time to at least have that discussion. Give you an update on Ladd Park. I've had a couple people ask about that. TWRA has met with us a couple times out there to look at it. Their engineers are looking at the ramp improvements, and it's still possible that they may have some funding that would help offset our replacement costs. It's a slow process, obviously much slower. If we're looking for their assistance, it could be as late as FY 21-22 before they could get it included in their budget. You have, as you know, set aside $100,000 for improvements to Ladd Park, and we can certainly move forward on our own much faster. But I think it probably is worth waiting if there's a good chance that we could get some contribution from them to help with that. So I'll keep you posted if I hear anything else, but at least they haven't said no. So there's a chance that we could get some help with that. Also, Tim Clark and I had a conference call with our engineers last week on the SDP resurfacing for Ladd Landing. They're working on the pre-design at this time, and we'll be submitting that to TDOT. As soon as they get it finished, I should have a preliminary look at that and be able to green light it within the next week or two. And talking to Jeff Stevens, they think all the steps between now and being ready to go out for bid should go fairly quick. And they're still optimistic that we'll be ready for construction by summer. So we're still moving ahead on that, and that's all I have unless you have any questions.
Are there any questions for the city manager? Seeing none, we'll go into item 7, which is the addition of items to the meeting agenda received after the closing deadline. I've not received any of those. There is no unfinished business, and we'll go straight into number 9, which is new business. Item A is consideration to authorize the city manager to proceed with seeking loan funding for the Dogwood Drive expansion project. To hear a motion for this authorization.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Brackett, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Brackett, anything to say on this? Mr. Brown?
I would assume that this authorization is for the city manager to explore interest rate, payment payback plans, whether or not we would want to, how many years if we did it, and also to see if there's any chance of getting a drawdown on a certain amount of money. And that way we would be more informed for decisions in a month or so.
Yeah, whatever I find, I'll bring to the workshop next month.
Council, any questions?
I don't have a question, I actually have a comment. I just wanted to make mention of something that I know at the workshop last week, Councilmember Wright had expressed a concern that maybe if we do this, they might turn around and sell it to a school or a church. And I spoke with one of the owners, Steve Kirkham, this week, and I have a guarantee from both of the owners that they would not sell it to anything like that without they came to council and got permission.
Okay. Anyone else?
Is there any cost associated with the fact-finding mission?
No, there will be before, we can, once we green light what we want, there'll be issuance costs, and that'll vary by product, but, what I'll bring you, I won't go that far, obviously, without council approval, but yeah, there will, and most of them will be, can take out the loan proceeds, but it just depends on what loan, but no, I won't do anything engaged far enough that will incur issuance costs, so.
Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Brackett,
Yes.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Childs,
Abstain.
Councilmember Humphreys,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stockton,
Yes.
Councilmember Wright,
No.
Mayor Neal.
No.
Four ayes, 2 noes, and 1 abstain.
And I believe you'll have to ask Mr. Childs, yes or no.
So it doesn't want to pass.
Pass and abstain, same thing, unless you've got a direct conflict with it personal wise.
I'll go no.
Would you recount the vote, please?
Four ayes, three noes.
So it passes. On B is consideration of resolution 20-02-11-1, the first reading of resolution annexing territories parcels 110 and 114 Roane County Tax Map 57 and incorporating said territory in the corporate city limits of the city of Kingston. Do you hear a motion to pass this resolution?
I'll make the motion.
A second.
Motion by Ms. Wright, second by Ms. Stockton. Ms. Wright, you have anything?
I don't.
Ms. Stockton?
No.
Council? And clerk call the roll, please.
Councilmember Brackett,
Yes.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Childs,
Yes.
Councilmember Humphries,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stockton,
Yes.
Councilmember Wright,
Yes.
Mayor Hill.
Aye. Item C is consideration of resolution 20-02-11-2 for the first reading of the plan of services for the annexation of resolution 02-02-11-1 for the city of Kingston. What this does is put the plan of services out there for the area that's going to be potentially annexed. Do you hear a motion for item C?
I'll make the motion.
A second.
Motion by Ms. Wright, second by Ms. Stockton. Ms. Wright?
Nothing, sir.
Ms. Stockton? Council got anything? Madam Clerk, call the roll on that resolution 20-02-11-2.
Councilmember Brackett,
Yes.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Childs,
Yes.
Councilmember Humphries,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stockton,
Yes.
Councilmember Wright,
Yes.
Mayor Hill.
Aye.
7 ayes.
Item D is consideration of ordinance 20-02-11-1 and ordinance. Hold on 1 second. It's the same numbers you just had.
This is an ordinance,
A resolution, okay. A consideration of ordinance 20-02-11-1, ordinance amending the zoning map of Kingston City by zoning certain territories annexed by resolution 20-02-11-1 as C4 controlled commercial district. Do we have a motion to amend the zoning map of this property?
I'll make the motion.
A second.
Motion by Ms. Wright, second by Ms. Stockton. Ms. Wright?
Nothing, sir.
Ms. Stockton? Council? Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Brackett,
Yes.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Childs,
Yes.
Councilmember Humphries,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stockton,
Yes.
Councilmember Wright,
Yes.
Mayor Hill.
Aye.
7 ayes.
Item E is consideration to authorize the city attorney to file suit in Chancery Court against the owner of 500 North Kentucky Street due to persistent code violations. We have a motion for this consideration.
Make that motion.
Second.
A motion by Ms. Stockton, second by Mr. Brackett. Ms. Stockton?
I don't have anything.
Mr. Brackett? Council? Madam Clerk, call the roll on the consideration to authorize the attorney to file suit in Chancery Court.
Councilmember Brackett,
Yes.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Childs,
Yes.
Councilmember Humphries,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stockton,
Yes.
Councilmember Wright,
Yes.
Mayor Hill.
Aye.
7 ayes.
If nothing else on the agenda, council meetings adjourned. Now we'll go into the regular scheduled meeting of the Kingston Beer Board. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll for the beer board?
Member Brackett,
Here.
Member Brown,
Present.
Member Childs,
Present.
Member Humphries,
Present.
Vice Chair Stockton,
Present.
Member Wright,
Present.
Chairman Hill.
Present. Do you hear a motion for the previous minutes from last month's meeting?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second? Second. Anyhow, there's no business. Minutes haven't changed in a couple of months. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll on the minutes of the beer board?
Member Brackett,
Yes.
Member Brown,
Yes.
Member Childs,
Yes.
Member Humphries,
Yes.
Vice Chair Stockton,
Yes.
Member Wright,
Yes.
Chairman Hill.
Aye.
7 ayes.
With no business before the beer board tonight, this meeting is adjourned. And now I'd like to call the regular scheduled meeting of the Kingston Water Board. Madam Clerk, you please call the roll.
Member Brackett,
Here.
Member Brown,
Present.
Member Childs,
Present.
Member Humphries,
Present.
Vice Chair Stockton,
Present.
Member Wright,
Present.
Chairman Neal.
Present. Hear a motion for the previous minutes from the last water board meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Childs, second by Ms. Humphries. You see any corrections or deletions to the minutes? Board members, you see any corrections? Madam Clerk, call the roll on the previous minutes.
Member Brackett,
Yes.
Member Brown,
Yes.
Member Childs,
Yes.
Member Humphries,
Yes.
Vice Chair Stockton,
Yes.
Member Wright,
Yes.
Chairman Neal.
Aye.
7 ayes.
Now's the time set aside for any citizens' comments for the water board. If anyone wishes to talk to the water board, please come up, state your name and address. We'll go from there. Seeing none, we're going to the utility director reports.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple things, very surprisingly to us, you may have noticed in my written report, the warranty replaced raw water pump motor has already arrived. With it, we now have a spare motor on the shelf in case we ever need that going forward, but we were thrilled to get that back as quick as we did. Fortunately, we were able to navigate that problem with no interruptions in service. And hopefully this one will last for a long time. As you know, we just had to pull the backwash pump out and discover that after 40 years of use, it's still within specifications. So maybe we'll get lucky and the raw water motor will last just as long. So, but good news on that was covered by warranty and we already have it back. The recent flooding, obviously, we've had a lot of rain the last week. It certainly tested our sewer system. I'm happy to report overall we did very well. The plant reached a maximum flow of 3.6 million gallons on the 6th, but we handled it without issue. We did have our normal overages, the manhole by the high school being the most persistent. We had a couple of customers in that area that had some operational issues for a bit as we were so inundated with water, but all in all, that went well. We are working on a plan to bring Station 1 back up to 3 pumps, which should help a lot to alleviate some of the problems we have in that area. And we'll probably eventually have to look at putting in a larger sewer pipe at some point in the future to permanently address that situation. Fortunately, we don't get rains like that very often, but that's certainly been the case this year. All in all, it's just another example of your investment as a board in our infrastructure over the years paying off. So your sewer system handled itself well. Finally, just want to give you an update on the rate study. As you know, we have that underway. We compiled a large amount of information for them, sent it to them last week. We also had a conference call with them on Thursday. We'll be following up with another call in the next week to 10 days after they've had a chance to look through all that information. And at that time, we'll probably be working on setting up a site visit. So once I have a date and a time for that, I'll let you know. Would love to have you guys, as many of you could be there, involved in that. Give us a chance to directly communicate with them. I have mentioned to them certainly that, without a doubt, this could have an impact on our upcoming budget. And my hope is that we'll have a somewhat clear picture, at least, of what the recommendations are going to be closer to the time that I get the budget queue in April. So we'll have more to report on that as that process goes forward, and that's all I have.
Are there any other questions for the utility director? There is no business on the agenda. Now is there anything to come before the water board? All right, seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.
All rise. Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. This Honorable Commissioners meeting of Roane County, Tennessee is now in session. Honorable Chairman Randy Ellis presiding. God bless this United States, the great state of Tennessee, and this honorable meeting. At this time, Pastor Nathan Ray of the Lakeside Baptist Church will lead us in prayer. Afterwards, please remain standing for the pledge of the American flag.
Let's pray. Lord, thank you for the opportunity tonight to come and discuss the business of our beautiful county. I pray that you give the commissioners the wisdom and the guidance that they need to move our county forward in a positive way. Pray for the members of our county, the citizens of our county, Lord, that you that you lead them and guide them, that they work together and alongside the commissioners to make Roane County a better place to live. God, we pray for the children of this county, that we mentor them, that we lead them, because they are the future of this county. More importantly, God, I pray that we glorify you in this meeting tonight, that we're one in unity, that we all work together as one and not divided, but together. And we'll give you all the glory and the honor and the praise. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. If you have a cell phone, please turn it down. Thank you.
Could go ahead and check in and take the roll. It's not coming up on mine. Kenny, what do y'all doing? Okay, let the record reflect we have 13 commissioners present. Mr. Berry is on vacation, and Mr. Hickman's son is playing in the East Tennessee Middle School sectional basketball tournament tonight. So that's where those two are at tonight. We get approval of minutes of the January 13, 2019 meeting. Motion by Commissioner Hester, second by Commissioner Beshears. Commissioner Hester. Commissioner Beshears. No comment. Okay, we'll try to do it on a voice vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Minutes of the January 13th, 2019 meeting approved. Acceptance of committee reports and correspondence. Motion by Commissioner Meadows, second by Commissioner Hooks. Commissioner Meadows.
Nothing to add.
Commissioner Hooks.
Nothing further.
Any questions or comments on the committee report and correspondence? Don't we'll do a voice vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Committee reports and correspondence has been accepted. Madam Clerk, notaries, please.
Allison Barnes, Mary Smith Bernstein, Matt Porto, Michelle Lee Fisher, Marsha P. Marshall, Keita Mize, Laura Morris, William A. Newcomb, Candace Lee Peacock, Melissa S. Smith, and Allison L. Terrabush.
Okay, for the notaries, we get a motion on the notaries by Commissioner Hendrickson, second by Commissioner White. Commissioner Hendrickson.
Appreciate your willingness, sir.
Commissioner White. Sir. Any more questions or comments on the notaries? Not, since we're technically electing the notaries, we'll go ahead and take the roll call vote on this. Notaries are elected 13-0. At this time, we have hearing of delegations. This is the opportunity, if you're here to address the county commission tonight, you could please step to the podium and state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes to address the commission. And this is the only time tonight that you'll have to address the commission unless the commissioner yields to you at a certain time during the meeting. Would anybody like to address the commission tonight? Anyone like to address the commission? Seeing none, we'll move on to the county attorney's report.
We have a little over 20 code violation cases set for tomorrow, so expect to be having to clean up some more properties in the near future. And that's really all I have to report this month. Are there any questions about anything?
Any questions for the county attorney? Seeing none, we'll move along to the county executive's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of things I'd like to mention. First of all, we closed on the $4.9 million bond for the Oliver Springs Middle High School. And part of that, of course, was for the jail project. We closed on that this actually we signed the document, I think it was Thursday. But when we sold the bonds, it was good to report that our interest rate was 2.46%. on our competitive bid on our interest, so we had 30-year debt that averaged 2.46%. Since the school board has now approved the Oliver Springs project, the proceeds of our May issue, which was $7.1 million, along with the 3.9, so we issued debt for 4.9. The schools was 3.9 of that, and then we added that to the 7.1. So that money is now available, roughly $10 million for that project. We will cut a check, as we looked at the law, we will cut a check for the constituents in Oak Ridge. Maybe it can reduce the taxes up there, they can use it. We'll cut a check this week of $737,000. So that's how much money they received with that issuance. So the project there is, and I talked to the schools a little bit, the midway portion of that, they'll probably come to us next week or next month and ask us to surplus some property down there to the utility district. That'll allow the utility districts to get their permit from TDEC and then allow that sewer project to begin and be under construction at Midway. We haven't received the full schedule yet from the Oliver Springs project, so as soon as we do that, we'll forward that on to you all to let you know kind of what the schedule is. The $1 million that we received on the issuance was for the jail and the relocation of codes and to raise 2 properties. So you'll see a resolution in tonight's package that is to acquire property for the codes building. So that kind of takes care of that indebtedness issue. The thing that kind of was most troubling to us that's happened the last couple of weeks is we had some phone conversation, and Amanda Daugherty's here. She may want to add to this, but I'm going to try to summarize it in that all of our road projects, and I know some of you all on the road committee and the ones on the road committee have been briefed on this, but of our road projects, because of the disaster, it appears that FEMA is wanting to, as we say down south, crawfish a little bit on how much they want to fund of it. So in rough numbers, Riggs Chapel, if we spend $1 million down there, you know, FEMA wants to give us $160,000, $170,000 for it. The airport road was, I don't know how big that project is now, but they said, yeah, maybe if it's $5 million, we'll give you $150,000. So the airport road is still, I think it went to the road committee on some decisions there. Then you also have Bowman Bend that is along the Tennessee River, of course, and that is being sent back up to change to FEMA before we sign that contract. That has been bid out, it's ready to sign, but if it's a $4 million project and FEMA's going to give us $200,000, we'll have to really rethink our situation. If you remember when we borrowed up to $10 million on those road projects, we put them on 4 or 5 year repayment schedule because it was supposed to be paid back from FEMA money. So that's going to put a little twist depending on how this proceeds. We're somewhat under appeal with FEMA saying, you know, you've approved these projects, you approved the funding, and now you're saying that, oh, well, we really didn't mean it or whatever. I don't know what they're going to do. But anyway, that said, we have received a few payments from FEMA on some other small projects, but a couple of them have some hang-ups because of was the road on the county road, was it on TVA property, which is another federal agency, did the slide come from another property, just a number of things. So Amanda, you want to add anything to that? Have I fumbled through that enough, or does that make sense?
You did well.
Okay. So you'll hear more of that from the road committee, you'll hear more about it from us. We are not signing any more contracts for road work right now because of this FEMA taboo here. But I don't know, that's all I have. Anybody have any questions? We're starting to work on the budget, and you have your financial package in front of you there if you have any questions. Mr. Meadows.
Have you talked to Senator Yeager about FEMA's new?
We have not talked to Senator Yeager yet because that is more of a FEMA issue than a TEMA issue. So we're trying to work through the proper channels before we try to pull in the big guns on that one, I guess.
Mayor, Dennis and Tony both did state that FEMA told them to appeal to Alexander and to Clyburn and to Fleischman, that they would be able to help in this matter. So
They could be able to help, whether they will or whether they have even whether they could or not was questionable. But I was at that meeting also, so.
Any more questions for the county executive? Mr.
Phrase, there we go again, right? Believing somebody else tell us something, they go borrow a bunch of money, or commit a bunch of money, and all. Just go ahead and spend it, I promise. That's all right. Never ended.
Any other questions for the county executive? Seeing none, we'll move to special orders. Confirmation of a position switch on the Board of Zoning Appeals between alternate Scott Stout and Donna Beebe to become the 5th District alternate. Scott will become the active member, so from what I understand, Scott was the alternate, so he's going to switch over to be, the alternate's going to actually do their job and become a member of the zoning of the Board of Appeals. So if I could get a motion to approve. Motion by Commissioner Wilson, second by Commissioner Hooks. Commissioner Wilson. Commissioner Hooks.
Scott did a fine job.
Any other questions or comments on the special order? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and take the vote. Scott Stout has been appointed as a permanent member of the Board of Zoning Appeals for the 5th District. No zoning resolutions, no old business. We'll move on to new business resolution 22001, a resolution honoring the service of Gene Stout. We have a motion. Motion by Commissioner Hendrickson, second by Commissioner White. Commissioner Hendrickson.
I'm not further.
Commissioner White.
Nothing to add, sir.
Any questions? Would you like to add anything, Mr.
Laura Connor's here with the Health Department, and Laura, I think you helped us, this resolution maybe drafted a lot of it. Just real quick, Gene Stout worked for the county for 23 years. He started out in maintenance here at the courthouse, and he finished up, actually he transferred down to the Health Department when the county bought the Health Department, the building they currently occupy, and he served down there since, goodness, whenever we moved in there. I didn't see the year that moved in, but Gene was with us for 23 years. I think it was only appropriate to honor him for his service. He did a good job down at the Health Department, and I'd worked with him when he was at the Health Department. Did not have any experience with him here, but Laura, you may have something you want to add. But you know, Gene, as we did work with him at the Health Department, as it said here, he was a hardworking, dedicated, loyal, always trying to find a way to save something and never did throw anything away. That's a great maintenance person there, wasn't it, Kenny? Don't throw anything away, we may need it.
We've been clearing out some of the hoarding that's taken place over the years. But, you know, Gene, we really miss him. He's enjoying his retirement so much that he wasn't able to be with us tonight. So we will certainly pass it along to him, but we appreciate you recognizing his service, because we really appreciate him.
I said if there's any way, maybe next month we could present it to him if he's going to be in town, or we can give it to you or whatever.
Yeah, we're gonna plan to try and do something at the office too. He didn't want anything whenever he was leaving, so we're trying to get him back in to do something.
Be sure to let us know.
Something to store up. Fix it.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on resolution honoring the service of Mr. Gene Stout? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and vote. Resolution 22001 is adopted. Resolution 22002, resolution honoring the service of Earl Templeton Jr. Motion by Commissioner Hendrickson, second by Commissioner White. Commissioner Hendrickson.
He was a fine man. Fine officer, appreciate him.
Commissioner White.
I have nothing to add, sir.
Would the sheriff or Chief Hahn like to add anything for Mr. Templeton?
Well, one thing about Sergeant Templeton, he served 4 sheriffs. He's the only deputy at the sheriff's office that has that accomplishment. When I first started back in the late 80s, he was actually my supervisor. I've known Junior for a long time. He's worked hard. He contributed to the department. He contributed to the community very well. He was very loyal to the department, very loyal to Sheriff Stockton and myself, and he does need to be recognized. I talked to him 2 days ago, and he was a little bit under the weather, so that may be why he's not here tonight. But I will be sure to let him know that he was appreciated by the commission.
Thank you, Chief. Any more questions or comment on resolution 22002? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and vote. Resolution 22002 is adopted.
Just for the record, as everybody knows, the audience did not know, Sergeant Earl Templeton Jr. served 25 years in law enforcement. That's a feat in and of itself.
Resolution 22003, a resolution recognizing Terry Stevens Sr., recipient of the 2020 Governor's Volunteer Star for Roane County Award. Got a motion by Commissioner Hooks and a second by Commissioner White. Commissioner Hooks.
Well, I think the day he stepped in the office, he stepped into an office that deserved and needed a lot of work, and he hit the ground running, and I appreciate him getting this recognition.
Commissioner White.
Thank you for your service, sir.
Any more questions or comments? A resolution recognizing Terry Stevens Sr., the 2020 Governor's Volunteer Star for Roane County. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and vote. Resolution 22003 is adopted. Mr. Stevens, you can step forward. Get that picture. David wants to get a picture. Mr. Woody's going to read the resolution.
He didn't bring Bo up, that wouldn't be right.
Yeah, bring the boss up.
There you go. So this is the resolution just approved by County Commission Whereas Terry is an active member of the Rotary Club of Kingston, where he serves as a board of directors of the Boys and Girls Club of Roane County, an active volunteer in the Roane County Anti-Drug Coalition since March 2018, where he serves on the board of directors, volunteers through the Retire and Senior Volunteer Program with the Cooperation for National and Community Service. I'm not sure what that is, but that sounds very impressive. Has been employed as a pharmacist at the University of Tennessee College of Veterinary Medicine for over 14 years and now enjoys working part-time. He was appointed as a member of the Governor's Opioid Abuse Task Force by Governor Bill Haslam in January of 2018 for the Tennessee Commission on Pain and Addiction Medication Education, where his tireless effort helps to support the missions of the Roane County Anti-Drug Coalition, which is to reduce youth abuse, substance abuse, to educate and raise awareness of alcohol, tobacco, and other drug uses, to promote community involvement and strengthen the community partnership and prevention strategies in Roane County. Now therefore be it resolved that the Roane County Commission does hereby recognize Terry Stevens for his support of the Roane County Anti-Drug Coalition and recognizing you for the Governor's Volunteer Star. Thank you.
We need a little more this way.
Out of picture, huh? How many pictures you taking?
Mr. Stevens, would you like
to add anything?
Well, one of the things that Roane County has a lot of, I volunteer very little compared to some of the things other people volunteer in the county. It's one of your bigger assets is the amount of time they did the state. For example, the volunteers in the state account for about $3 billion in assets. You know, in Roane County, same way, we have people that really volunteer a lot more than I do. Their time, their energy, and I think that all volunteers, I accept this for all volunteers in the county. So.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. Resolution 22004, resolution honoring the heroic action of Anna DeBose. Is that correct? I think we did. DeBose. Got a motion by Commissioner Wilson and a second by Commissioner Hendrickson. Commissioner Wilson?
I think she will do this honor. After reading the story and somebody stepping up, and you definitely deserve this, for sure.
Commissioner Hendrickson, could you yield to Chief Hahn right quick? Chief.
I'd like to tell y'all the quick story of how this came about. On January the 10th, 2020, at around 6 a.m., Anna DeBose, who is a resident here in Roane County, who is also a patient care provider at Roane Medical Center and in the nursing program at Roane State Community College, was driving by Half Moon Shores Road on her way to work at Roane Medical Center. She noticed what she believed to be a fire at the residence. When I talked to her initially, she said all I saw was a flicker, and it caught my attention. Ms. DeBose knew the homeowner, who was Leroy Halcox, so she stopped to see if it was a fire or not. She saw that the back of the house was on fire. She attempted to make entry into the house, but was unable to due to the doors and the windows being locked. She beat on the side of the house, beat on the windows, beat on the doors, no response. She went to the next door neighbor, who happened to be Mr. Halcox's son and daughter-in-law. She was able to get a hammer from the neighbor and beat a hole in the door so that she could reach in and unlock it. Ms. Dobos went into the burning home, and she told me that while she was in there, that she could see the fire falling like a waterfall out of the ceiling everywhere in front of her. Then she heard Mr. Hallcox in the basement calling out to her. He had no idea that the house was on fire. He was wanting to know who had entered his home. Miss Dobos was able to bring Mr. Hallcox out of the residence just before it was fully consumed in fire. Mr. Hallcox is certainly alive today because of the heroic actions of Anna Dobos. Step on up.
Commissioner Hendrickson, would you?
Yeah, you know, my mama always told me, she said, you never know when you might run into an angel. And you're Mr. Hallcox's angel. And I appreciate what you done.
So it's always good to have events like this tonight. We've honored two people who have retired with over 20 years of service. We honored a volunteer of our program, but it's also great to honor a hero, is what you are. Anna, I'm not going to read all this because, Chief, you went through it all, of what she did. Now, I will say this is, we go to church together. The family does in there. So, and Leroy's son and daughter-in-law all attend the same church. So this is a pretty tight-knit community. So when you're seeing something happen at someone's house, whether you know them or not, you're going to try to help out. But this was a very heroic effort. I know the family, the Hallcoxes, Gary and his sister, are glad you did what you did, and of course Leroy is too. So it is a pleasure to honor you, and it says what the chief said, but it says, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners of Roane County does hereby recognize and honor Anna Dobos for her acts of bravery and heroic action in saving the life of Mr. Hallcox. Thank you.
Dobos.
Yeah, probably like that. Do it one more time.
I'd like to say and thank you to God for keeping His protective shield over us during that, because it happened so fast. I mean, there was no way anybody else could get there in time. And it truly was a miracle I was able to get them out. So I'm just thankful I was able to be there.
Thank you.
Let's go ahead and vote on Resolution 22004 right quick. Resolution 22004 is adopted. I'm going to take a 5-minute recess right quick. No, there's no objection. Go back into order. I apologize to everybody. My sugar dropped, so I had to go get something to eat right quick. Move on to Resolution 22005, a resolution to transfer surplus property located adjacent to the Rams football field to the Rockwood Rams Quarterback Club. We've got a motion by Commissioner Meadows, second by Commissioner East. Commissioner Meadows.
This is something we had talked about at the property committee last meeting, and I think what had happened, and Mr. Helper might want to address this, is that property was intended, from what I recall, to be deeded to the Rams organization, but it ended up being part of a different parcel. Is that correct? That's correct. And it was unintentionally left out. And it was approved by the property committee to go ahead and deed that to the Rams organization. It's near Tom Grove School, and it was all, I guess, one track at that point. And then it was cut outside.
Second, I'm leading there.
Let Mr. Cofer tell us. Yield, Mr. Cofer, please.
Mr. Cofer.
A couple of years back, it's been a little while,
since property was donated to the Rockwood Rams Quarterback Club. And we thought the whole parcel down there included our parking lot, football field and everything. Well, come to find out, the deed that we have only covered the football field. And the property that it holds the press box and the parking area for the Rams field is actually up for auction. And luckily, a gentleman come in requesting some information on the property and found out about it. We greatly appreciate the work that the property committee put through and did, Mr. Woody, because without this additional parcel of property, the field would be useless for the youth of Rockwood. So we greatly appreciate you guys considering this.
And Mr. Cover, all the improvements were done at the quarterback club, is that correct?
Yeah, all the buildings down there have been built by the Rockwood Rams Quarterback Club.
You're just glad that gentleman come in your office.
Oh, yes.
Mr. East, you still have the floor.
That's all I have. I just wanted to explain to people what we do.
Any other questions or comments on Resolution 22005? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and take the vote. Resolution 22005 is adopted. Resolution 22006, a resolution to authorize the county executive to execute the renewal contract for an ambulance billing service. Motion by Commissioner White, second by Commissioner Meadows. Commissioner White.
I yield to Mr. Wood if he's got anything to say about it.
So we've been with this ambulance billing company for a number of years. I guess when we first came in, we were in-house. We tried to keep up with everything in-house. That was kind of unsuccessful for us. Then we outsourced to a company down in Georgia for a number of years, and we started having problems with this. And so Tim Suter and I both went, I don't know if anybody else went with us or not, we went and visited this company before we executed our contract. This is our second or third renewal. This is our second renewal with them, and we've been satisfied with them, but we know where they're at, and we'll call them up or go visit them if we have any problems. They do, Tim, is Tim here? I thought I saw him.
Yes.
They do substantially most all governmental billing, I think, in Tennessee now. They're out of Paducah, Kentucky.
Yeah. Commissioner White, you still have the floor.
I have nothing to add.
Commissioner Meadows.
I've been on the OES board for some time, when we were doing it in-house, and then after we contracted with this particular company, and the difference has been phenomenal. I mean, it was nearly immediate, and not only collecting the current accounts, but they're going back and collecting the old ones as well. And I'm very satisfied, and hopefully Mr. Studer is as well.
Any more questions or comments on Resolution 22006? Seeing none, we'll record the vote. Resolution 22006 is adopted. Resolution 22007, a resolution to enter into a joint bid agreement with the City of Harriman for delinquent tax sale properties. Motion by Commissioner Wilson, second by Commissioner Meadows. Commissioner Wilson. I'll defer to Mayor Woody.
So this is similar to the other agreements we have with the City of Kingston and the City of Rockwood, where we can now jointly manage delinquent back tax property, have the sales concurrently, and then manage them if we have to buy them in government agencies. You've reviewed this contract, I think, and
It's the exact same contract that you have with the other two cities.
Well, this was the last city, is that correct? To join with us? Commissioner Wilson, anything further?
Nothing further.
Commissioner Meadows.
I'm just glad to see Harriman join in.
Any other questions or comments on 22007? Seeing none, we'll record the vote. Resolution 22007 is adopted. Moving along to Resolution 22008, a resolution authorizing Roane County to submit for the Tennessee Complete Count Grant Program 2020 U.S. Census, funded by the TN Tennessee Department of Finance and Administration, Office of Criminal Justice Programs. Motion by Commissioner Meadows, second by Commissioner Hooks. Commissioner Meadows.
This came before Budget Committee just before this meeting, and it came out with a recommendation that we accept. And it, from what I recall, it's a zero match, and I'll defer to Mr. Woody for further.
That is correct. It is a zero match. The grant availability just came to us probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, and this is just another way to help us try to ensure that everyone's counted. No matching, and this is going to be available on probably all of your counties out there in some form or fashion.
And how much is it estimated each person is worth?
I saw that number,
but there is value.
Yeah, it's in the thousands of dollars for now.
So it's crucial that we count as many as we can. Nothing further.
Commissioner Hooks.
Nothing further.
Any more questions or comments on Resolution 22008? Seeing none, we'll record the vote. Resolution 22008 is adopted. Resolution 22009, a resolution to amend the General Fund 101, Sanitation Fund 116, Special Purpose Fund, Ambulance Fund 118, Special Purpose Fund 121, Fire and Animal Control Fund, Highway Public Work Fund 131, Wastewater Fund 204, where overages exist either by unexpected changes to the departments or needs have changed since the first of the fiscal year. Motion by Commissioner Meadows, second by Commissioner White. Commissioner Meadows.
I'll defer to Mr. Woody.
So we do cleanups about twice a year. This is one. You'll notice that a lot of it is dealing with some retirement programs, which we have some employees on a hybrid and some under a legacy. There are no new positions in this adjustment. It is not taking any money from our fund balance. It's basically just kind of moving, shuffling some money around. As you'll look through it, it's just corrections of calculations and nothing of any significance here.
Commissioner Meadows.
Nothing to add.
Commissioner White.
I have nothing to add.
Any more questions or comments on Resolution 22009? Seeing none, we'll record the vote. Resolution 22009 is adopted. Resolution 22010, a resolution to amend Resolution 012008 to increase grant matching funds for the 2019 Assistance to Firefighter Grant Program. Motion by Commissioner Meadows, second by Commissioner Hendrickson. Commissioner Meadows.
This came before Budget Committee as well, and I think what has occurred is the match portion had gone from 5% to 10%. And Mr. Wood, if you'd like to add to that, plus Mr. Suter does have plans.
Yeah, Mr. Suter's here and he can answer what these grants for, but as you can see, it's a 10% match, so we put in $25,000. We're asking for $250,000 for EMS, fire prevention, equipment, training, and other improvements. And Tim, if you want to add to the particulars of this.
Amanda, thank you. Talk about the specifics of it.
Just some of the things that we're looking into buying with this grant. It will go towards some equipment for the emergency trucks, the rescue trucks, as well as a training trailer that we hope to have to be able to take to events throughout the county, to utilize with the schools and other county events to simulate fire prevention, things of that nature, as well as some bounce house activities for the kids that are fire prevention related, and just different equipment, things like that for our firefighters as well.
Mr. Woody, anything?
That's all I have.
Mr. Meadows? Commissioner Hendrickson?
Nothing further.
Any more questions or comments on 22010? Seeing none, we'll record the vote. Resolution 22010 is adopted. Resolution 22011, a resolution authorizing Roane County to submit for the Volkswagen Community Grant Application. A motion by Commissioner Wilson, second by Commissioner White. Commissioner Wilson.
I think this is also kind of before the budget committee, but I'll go ahead and defer to Mayor Woody for the rest of this.
So this does require a match, or we're pledging a match of 25%. We have the money already budgeted that was not allocated for a specific project, so we're not taking it out of our reserves. Hopefully we would get a $50,000 grant and we'd have 17 with it, so we would have a $67,000 grant. We've gone through some master planning in Parks and Rec. I know some of you all have been on those committees and boards. The one thing that we would like to accomplish with this is take part of the walking trail down into Roane County Park and make it handicap accessible. So you would have a start point, an end point that could be designated as handicap accessible in the park.
Commissioner Wilson.
Nothing further.
Commissioner White. Any more questions or comment on Resolution 22011? Seeing none, we'll record the vote. Resolution 22011 is adopted. Resolution 22012, a resolution to create and appropriate the Midway, Oliver Springs, and Oak Ridge ADA funding in a separate subfund of the General Capital Project Fund 171, school constructions, and to appropriate the funding for relocation of the Codes Building in 171 jail expansion. Motion by Commissioner Meadows, second by Commissioner White. Commissioner Meadows.
Like the others, this one came before the budget committee as well, not for Mr. Woody.
So I think there's been, this one been handed out, at your desk, there should be an amended copy. So I would hopefully that the movement in the second would accept the amended copy as the motion.
Commissioner Meadows?
Yes.
Commissioner White?
I have nothing to add.
Okay, just real briefly on this, we do this predominantly for ourselves, but also to help everybody understand what we're doing. We already technically have the authority to post these budgets because you all have approved the bonded indebtedness, which was the big deal. But what this kind of does is the first page, if you'll look at the top, we had it previously budgeted in one group of accounts. We're decreasing those to zero and just putting it into another account so we can identify it more clearly. That's the $1 million generally that deals with predominantly what was happening at the Midway Sewer Plant. The second page, it increases this last bond. That's what the first 4 lines reflects there, is the money that we came in, because some of this goes to Oak Ridge. That's the first 4 lines. The decrease is the money we received last year. You know, we had the $7.1 million. Some of that has been spent, just very little on the project, but there was almost $9 million still there. We are reducing that to zero so we can reappropriate that and show you where it's at. So what you see in the increased expenditures in the middle of the page, that is for the education component. And you'll see over to the far right-hand side, it was $11.9 million, almost $12 million. 748,000 was a check that we'll write this year. We've already wrote part of the check last year when we transferred some money. The bottom part deals with really this $1 million for this last issue that was jail related. We have the bond proceeds. We brought in $1,028,000, and then it's appropriated $1,028,000. We're reflecting in the building purchase, but that's not what we're paying for the building, as you can see on the resolution, because this is for the building, to raise 2 buildings and then do any a renovation that may be needed. So this is just to help you all kind of follow how the money goes in and comes out. Technically, we have most approval from the comptroller's office as the resolutions were approved, the bonds were already approved.
Commissioner Meadows?
Nothing.
Commissioner White?
I have nothing to add.
Any more questions or comments on 22012 as amended? I will record the vote. Resolution 2-2012 as amended is adopted. Resolution 2-2013, a resolution authorizing a continuous 5-year reappraisal cycle. Motion by Commissioner Wilson, second by Commissioner Meadows. Commissioner Wilson.
Either and/or defer to Ms. Hardup or Mayor Woody, either or. Sorry, who'd like to talk?
Yeah, the first part of this is every year, every 5 years, we have to basically say, are we on a 5-year program or a 4-year program? And this is saying we're on a 5-year program. Molly, you want to add anything to that?
Don't really have anything to add. This is just to make it our official 5-year reappraisal cycle. We're finishing up our 2020. We've already sent it to the state. So they're approving it, going through our numbers, everything like that. So this is just for our 2025 cycle. Just the process, what we're responsible for as an office, what my staff do, what I'm responsible for. So does anybody have any questions about the reappraisal plan or about reappraisal?
Will we stay on a 5-year cycle until changed?
We will, as far as I know, I would rather stay on the 5-year reappraisal cycle. It has worked historically very well in the past, and it worked very well this time around. And I'm finally going to get the numbers to be my office's numbers, not having to reflect back to the 2015. So moving forward, hopefully it'll be more accurate. We've had to do a lot of cleanup to get things accurate. It's been a long, hard process, but it's going very well.
Appreciate all you've done.
Thank you.
Are y'all running on schedule?
We are on schedule. Yes, we have turned it in last Thursday night, sent it to the comptroller's office. So they just have to finalize everything, go over our numbers. We do cleanup reports. We're still doing that. So that will be for the next few weeks. But we're done. We're pretty much done. We just have a little bit more with commercial, just on review, making sure everything is where it should be with our landlines, commercial base rates, things like that. But residential is complete. Commercial sales, residential sales, everything has been completed.
Appreciate y'all's hard work.
Thank you. I'm very proud of my staff. They've done a great job.
We are too.
Thank you.
When do we anticipate notices?
The assessment change notices should come out mid to late April. The informal hearings will start in May, and then the month of June is set aside for any appeals.
Commissioner Wilson, you still have
Nothing further.
Commissioner Meadows.
Nothing further.
Thank you.
Any more questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and record a vote on 2-2013. Resolution 2-2013 is adopted. Resolution 2-2014, a resolution adopting the Roane County Hazard Mitigation Plan. Motion by Commissioner Meadows, second by Commissioner Hester. Commissioner Meadows.
Earlier this evening, we had a OES meeting at which we adopted or approved the hazard mitigation plan. Tim, would you like to fill everybody in on that?
Amanda could probably do this too, but our hazard mitigation plan is a plan that's put together every 5 years and reviewed. TEMA came in, we put together a committee with representatives from the city of Kingston, Harriman, Rockwood, Harriman Utility Board, and a few other folks that met with us. We looked at all the potential natural disasters that could hit this area, and we kind of prioritized some plans to address or mitigate some of those issues. TEMA put the plan together. TEMA approved it, sent this to FEMA for their approval. We got the approval pending adoption. We had to meet with Kingston, Harriman, and then this last week or so we met with Rockwood, which caused us to have a special call meeting to bring it before you all. Basically what we're waiting on is approval from this body. We submit that back to FEMA, and this plan is done for 5 years.
Did you have any mitigation risk of flooding? in your plan?
Flooding, yes, flooding, tornadoes, winter storms, wildfire, drought, landslides, earthquakes, and presidential disaster declarations. We've addressed it all.
Commissioner Meadows.
Nothing to add.
Commissioner Hester, you have the second.
Nothing to add.
Any more questions or comments on 22014? Seeing none, we'll record the vote. Resolution 22014 is adopted. Under Resolution 22015, a resolution to authorize the purchase of a former Bank of Roane County building at 320 North Kentucky Street, Kingston, for the location of the Codes Enforcement Office. Motion by Commissioner Hendrickson, second by Commissioner White. Commissioner Hendrickson.
Mr. Woody, had you looked other places in the county for location other than Kingston?
Yes. Well, actually what we did is we looked at, we put a notice in the newspaper. Of course, this has been going on for a number of years. We were approached on this facility probably 3 or 4 years ago. And then we started looking around several months ago about other particular locations. We put a notice in the newspaper looking predominantly in the Kingston area because we needed to be relatively close to the courthouse, because you need to be relatively close to your property assessor, where there's some interfacing going there, and also with our GIS department and courthouse. We did look at a facility, or we were offered a piece down in Midtown. There were 2 or 3 in Kingston we talked about. And we had some written proposals from 2 or 3 folks. And one of them was the bank building that we looked at before.
Something you might not be aware of, the HEB building in Harriman's empty, which is plenty of parking there. We actually have a county office in there. Also, the county owns the building that the Harriman Police Department is currently in, that they'll be moving into a new building, and we could have it for free.
And that's a school building there.
I may have misspoke, a contract, but on a sales agreement, you could certainly say, well, you know, we'll purchase it for this amount of money if you look at fixing this problem.
I got a motion by Commissioner Wilson, is that correct?
Yes.
Go ahead and state your motion.
Well, I'd like to amend this and kind of,
What if you don't like the inspection? Are you retaining the right to back out if you don't like the inspection? I think you need to clarify this motion.
What, go ahead.
so to clarify the motion, in the inspection, we can add that if there's any mold or air conditioning unit problems from that facility, that the owner is paying for that prior to the sale.
Or negotiated through the contract.
Roof leak.
Or roof leaks, to add that.
Mr. Is that sufficient?
Maybe put in there that it comes back before us after the inspection.
Usually, when you're entering into a contract where you retain the right to inspect, usually as part of that contract, you're given the opportunity to walk away from the transaction if you don't like what the inspection shows.
Any finding.
The problem here is we don't have a contract before you, so whatever you vote on tonight, that is your offer. So we need to clarify.
You may want to consider a dollar amount.
I'm just not up on,
Me.
I'm just being honest. I think those are fair things to look at, and I think that's things that they would look at anyway. I don't anticipate with a metal roof, I don't anticipate with structural. I think things that's possibility that can always happen is always an air conditioner unit and mold. Those are things that can be rectified at a reasonable cost. And I think a fair market value price on that property, being a commercial property, is $775. So I would like to keep my amendment the way it is on that.
So $775 with an inspection and looking at if there's problems with mold, AC, structure, or roof.
Yes.
Mr. Meadows.
The more we're discussing this, the more I think it might be proper and prudent on our part to have an inspection prior, to making an official offer to them.
I agree.
Because we just don't know what we're getting into. I feel like we need the property. I think there will lead some overcrowding, but I don't want to get a situation where we're going to have to spend double what we paid for it just in improvements.
Well, that property, I have in my mind what I think that property is worth, a value, and what we have for saving. That's where I was going on the anticipation. You're right what you're saying, but I don't anticipate on that building standing there like it has for that long, and no water in the building. But
at this point, we don't know.
We do not know.
We do not know, and I think that we could get that done relatively quickly, and then have a report generated on our behalf to list out the the weaknesses that are found, and then we use that to formulate an offer.
A negotiating price.
Negotiated price.
So the motion to amend you got right now is to offer $775 with an inspection for, then looking for the mold, AC, structural, and roof problems.
Yes.
So that's his motion right now, that's what you got seconded so far. So did you want to change that, or do you want to keep that one?
I don't have a problem if you want to take off the negotiating price, but
I just think it, you know, that we just will not know until it's actually an inspection performed and a report presented back to us, actually what is there.
so, yeah, you make a valid point. So on that, I will amend that to having the inspection prior to making an offer of the structural, roof, and a total inspection.
The
A
entire
total
property.
inspection.
The entire,
That can-
the
yeah,
total
that-
complete inspection.
Exactly.
What about if you made that your thing pending passing an inspection? You know what I'm trying to say, or what?
You're saying if it passes the inspection.
This is what your offer is.
Just set it
fix
off a month.
this is-
What's it going, we're not under the fire.
Hold on, Mr. Bell. We got a motion, the second by Mr. Wilson.
I'll keep it at the inspection.
Mr. Meadows, did you have anything?
The
further?
inspection.
Offer $775 with an inspection and try to get commitments to fix any mold, AC, structural, or roof problems. It comes back in the inspection. Is that correct, Mr. Wilson?
Can we ask Mr. Lefevre for that now?
Okay, yeah.
So we're back to the amend that you all have you don't have a problem with, offering the 775 with the amendment? I mean, with the inspection?
His motion was to amend to make the offer $775 with an inspection and a commitment to fix if there's any mold, AC, structural, or roof problem. Did you have, Mr. White was asking if that was clear enough? I'm sorry.
I think that's clear enough for everyone to understand what you're requiring and what you're going to require of the seller. So that alleviates my concern.
So that's your motion, that's your second. Did you have anything further, Mr.
I think
Meadows?
actually Hester seconded. I just asked to speak.
Okay, well, you was interjecting on that. Sorry, Mr. Hester. Is that, you have any more comments with that amendment offered?
No, that's false.
Mr. Hendrickson?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like we're hell bent to buy this building. And with that being said, I don't see people knocking down their door to buy it. So, I think we're the only fish on the line. And with that being said, I'm not against offering him $500,000, and we'll buy it as is.
Let me take this amendment up, then if this one passes or fails, we'll come back. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Well, I mean, can I try to amend their amendment?
We have to take up the amendment that's on the floor first, then you can amend the main one back if this one passes or fails. So any more questions or comments on the amendment to make the offer of $775 with a prior inspection with commitments to fix mold, AC, structural, or roof problems? Okay, we're going to vote on the amendment as stated. The amendment fails 8-5. Coming back to Mr. Hendrickson.
Yeah, I'd like to amend it that since we're the only fish on the line, let's offer him $400,000, $500,000. I mean, you know, he's still making money on it.
Do you want to offer 4 or 5?
Yeah, let's go with 4.
As is?
Yeah.
Okay, I got a motion for, hold on a second. You said 400,000 as is. Do I got a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Hester. Commissioner Hendrickson, do you need anything further?
No, that's it. I mean, we're the only fish on the line, so let's
Okay. Mr. Hester?
Well, so I've got the assessment data pulled up, so, and I like where you're going, Junior, lowering the price, but unfortunately, I don't think we can bargain with the owner, but the assessment data is $889,400. I do like the fact that in 2018, October 4th, it sold for $550. Then it was improvements made after that, so I mean, you're saying you're coming in at what,
$775 is.
Yeah, but no, Junior's.
Oh, Junior.
Junior's amendments, what'd you say?
5 as is.
Yeah, 4 or 5, I mean, I don't care, let's pick a number, we're the only fish on the line. You know, I mean,
Well, I mean,
the time to take the money is when the person's standing there with it. And we're the only ones with the money bag. We're it. I mean, he can sit all on it and write it off for all I care the rest of his life.
Okay, that's another problem. I guess you need to be clear though.
Could you clarify, you want to say 4 or 5?
I tell you, let's split down the middle, 450.
Okay, motion for 450 as is, and Mr. Hester, would you second that motion?
I'll still second it.
Okay. Any other questions or comment, 450 as is? Commissioner Gann.
I don't mean to keep driving this home, but I don't believe we need to buy this building tonight. And I think we really need to have it inspected before we ever do it. I think we can table this for a month, and I think within that month, we can get an inspector in. We can have that building inspected. We can figure out what the cost is to remodel it for what we want to use it for.
That's fair.
Because if we spend $800,000, $400,000, $500,000, or $775,000, we're looking at another probably $250,000 remodeling cost on this. So I think really we should get an inspector to look at it, table this for a month, get an inspector to look at it, come back, tell us what the problems is and the estimated cost on those problems. Then we would know what we can offer within that budget.
Who's going to pay for the inspection?
The county, it's going to be for our benefit. I mean, it would be for our benefit, for our cost savings. I don't know what inspection for that commercial would do. I can give you a rough estimate on what a residential inspector makes. It's around about, I don't know if there's any in here, so I don't want to say, but.
Last I paid was about $800.
Okay, but I don't know what a commercial inspector would do, because I don't know what they'd have to do. It would probably be more than that. But I think if it is more than that, I think it would save us.
I think it would be more than that, because your building has to be the code, because you have the people come in off the street, you know, in a commercial building, so there's
But I
different.
think the wise thing to do is table this for a month.
And I'm okay with that, but I think we need to get away from that.
Let's go ahead.
How to vote.
Mr. Hendrickson had a motion, I think we ended up at 450 as is.
450.
So let's go vote that amendment, then we'll come back to the resolution as stated. Any further questions or comments on the amendment to make the offer price 450 as is? Seeing none, we'll record the vote.
We're almost there. Sorry. We're doing 450, right?
450 as is. The amendment has failed 2 to 11. Back on the amendment, 2/2015. Mr. Meadows.
No, it's on motion.
We're back on the resolution 2/2015. It's on the floor. The amendments have all failed, so we're back on the original motion for 2/2015. Go ahead, Mr. Meadows, you have the floor.
I would like to offer an amendment on this in that we pay at our expense a commercial licensed inspector to go out there on our behalf to give us the current status of the property, and based on these results, we will potentially go forward with negotiations on this property. Those, from my bank experience, those things usually run $1,500 to $2,500, but you can put them out for bid, and you can negotiate based on turnaround and price.
So I guess what I'm getting your motion is to get an inspection to see what the problems are and if there is any, and bring that back the next month to.
Yes, and then go forward. I think, again, I hate to admit it, I think that this probably fits into our footprint, and we're probably, something we really need to look at. This way we'll know what we're, I like where Mr. Hendrickson was heading with his at 450, but we don't know if there's 450,000 remaining on top of that in renovations. We just don't know. And, I just think it'd be a prudent thing to do in a purchase of this nature.
Do I have a second for that?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Hester. Do not go on?
I'll second.
Okay. Any more further comments?
No.
Mr. Wilson, any comments?
No, I think that's where we're at right now is, let's get the appraisal, let's see where we're at, let's see what's there, we know more about it, and we can offer the
It's
price.
not an appraisal, it's an inspection.
With an inspection. I meant to say inspection, not appraisal. And get the inspection and then move forward with it.
Sorry, Mr. Hester, I didn't mean to cut you off. Did you have any?
No.
Okay, so the motion is to get an inspection and come back next month to see where we're at.
But we've got to remember that time is of the essence, because we do have the fire marshal still right there. Nothing has eased off from their standpoint whatsoever. I hope that it would. It has not. And neither from DCI. It is what it is.
Any more questions or comments on the amendment? Mr. Bell?
Who said?
Hold on a second. I had Ms. Cunningham first, and we'll come to Mr. Bell. Did you get it on accident, or?
No.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Just listening to all this and being the one that is always stuck out there looking at all the properties and trying to make that decision and bringing it to the board as it is, it's hard to know what those facts are, what everybody's looked at. Personally, if you see me just agreeing and nodding, that's because I'm in that role all the time. And when I'm in that role and I bring it in there to the board, it's because I've looked at everything and I've done my due diligence. And I feel like I would hope that that's what has been done in this case. And if not, well, then we got bigger problems in this one building. That's all I'm saying.
Commissioner Bell, on the amendment.
Nothing. I was going to ask who's told us the fire marshal's still on us, but that ain't amendment.
They have not said that they're not. That's
They haven't said they are.
Okay. So we got a motion, as we've stated, and a second by Commissioner Wilson to get the inspection and pretty much bring this back next month. Any more discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, we'll record the vote.
Bring it back before purchase, right?
Yes.
Yes.
The amendment passes 12-1. Seeing nothing else on the agendas or any, we voted to get the inspection and bring it back next month. That's what the amendment was to do.
So that you don't have to do anything on the main motion at all.
No, that wasn't, we pretty much defer all what we.
Do we need a motion to defer that?
I included that in your motion to get an inspection to defer this till next month. That's what, bring it back to next month.
Sufficient requirement to proceed.
We voted on the amendment, and the amendment was approved, but you haven't voted on the amended motion. You voted to amend the motion, but you still have this amended motion.
Okay, so we voted to amend the motion to get an inspection on the property and bring it back next month. So the motion is now amended to include that. So now we're going to vote on the main motion as amended.
You need to vote on the main motion to defer it a month pending the inspection.
So now we're going to vote on the motion as amended. So a yes vote would be right quick, hold on one second. The motion's been amended to get an inspection and bring it back next month. So that's been amended. So now we got to vote on the motion as amended. I took it as he was deferring it till next month pending that stuff. I didn't take it as an amendment, but that was the intent. But, so that's what we're going to do now, is we're going to vote on the motion as amended as we stated. So it's going to defer it and bring it back next month pending the inspection. That's the way I took it the first time. So, are you ready to vote on this? Because I am. Go ahead and record the vote. If you vote yes on this, that means we're going to get an inspection and bring it back next month. And the motion again, motion as amended passes 11-2. Just so everybody knows right quick, they did call school off tomorrow, so there's no schools in Roane County tomorrow. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Second. All in favor say aye. Motion is adjourned. Meeting is adjourned.
All right, call this meeting of Harriman City Council, February the 4th, 2020 to order. Before we get started, we'll have a prayer by Councilman Wright, followed by the pledge allegiance to the flag. Councilman Wright.
Join me, please. Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight with gratitude and thanks in our hearts. And we thank you for the gift of life and for every individual that's in attendance at this meeting tonight. May we all commit ourselves to you. We appreciate what you've granted us with time and opportunity to work together for this community and our fellow citizens. And Father, may everything we discuss be of reason and sense, and give us the wisdom necessary to make our time worthwhile, and as we meet together tonight, a success. Yes, we pray in Christ's name. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll, please.
Betty Holly.
Here.
Kim Johnson.
Here.
Kenny Me. Sam Russell. Lonnie Wright.
I'd like to declare a quorum. Motion to approve the minutes of the January 21st, 2020 meeting. Motion by Councilman Wright.
Second.
Second by Councilman Johnson. Councilman Wright.
No.
Councilman Johnson.
No, sir.
Floor is open for discussion. Call the roll, please.
Betty Holly.
Yes.
Tim Johnson.
Yes.
Kenny Me.
Yes.
Lonnie Wright.
Yes.
Motion carries. Motion to pay the salaries.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Meade.
Second.
Second by Councilman Holly. Councilman Meade. Councilman Holly.
Motion.
Floor is open for discussion. Call the roll, please.
Betty Holly.
Yes.
Tim Johnson.
Yes.
Kenny Me.
Yes.
Lonnie Wright.
Yes.
Motion carries. Motion to pay the bills.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Wright.
I second.
Second by Councilman Johnson. Councilman Wright. Councilman Johnson.
No, sir.
Floor is open for discussion. Call the roll, please.
Betty Holly.
Yes.
Tim Johnson.
Yes.
Kenny Me.
Yes.
Lonnie Wright.
Yes.
Motion carries. This time we'll hear from delegation. If you'd like to address this council, please stand, state your name, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. And if you would, please come to the podium.
Mr. Mayor, I'm Jim Bunganast. I'm the state chairman for the Department of Defense Employer Supported Guard and Reserve Committee. It's a Department of Defense committee that was established back in 1972 when we started doing away with the draft and decided that we would do a lot of our military obligations through the Guard and Reserve. And today we have over 1 million Guard and Reserve folks nationwide, probably about 40,000 that are activated right now. And our job as the ESGR committee is to ensure that employers know their obligations under the reemployment rights law that applies to Guard and Reserve folks that are employed. But one of the good things we get to do is go out and say thank you to employers that are doing the right thing and really being supportive of the Guard and Reserve folks that work for them. And I'm honored to say that one of our own, an individual named Staff Sergeant Rachel Hayes, who works for the police department, put her boss, Chief Aaron Tapp, in for an award. She's with the Civil Affairs and Psychological Operations Division within the Department of the Army, stationed at Fort Bragg. Those of you who have ever been there, it's near Fayetteville, North Carolina. We used to call it Vietnam when I was there. But in any event, she made this recommendation that Chief Tapp receive this award. So I'd like the Chief, if you wouldn't mind coming up. On behalf of the Department of Defense and all of us in the ESGR community in the state of Tennessee, we want to thank you so much for your support. Thank you. Let's get the picture, you got to look at it.
Look, just wait for TV.
Oh, okay, let's turn it around here.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I also want to thank everyone here with the City Council, you, Mr. Mayor, all the councilmen, City Manager Helms as well, because I know it's just not what the Chief of Police does, but the entire support of the City Council and everyone involved with the city to help support those folks that are doing well by the Guard and Reserve. So thank you again, I appreciate it so much.
Thank you, we appreciate you. Anyone else like to address council? We'll move into reports. Harriman, you took the board.
I'll start with the electric department. Just mention real quickly, we've been paying attention to Bayou Steel since they shut down. That's our largest electric customer. So we understand that Liberty Steel Group has purchased them, and we're hopeful that the plant will return to normal operations, which we're kind of waiting to see right now. Mentioned the power outage that occurred on January 17th. This was a Friday. It started around the end of most people's workday. Just want to mention that there was like 3 outages in a 24-hour period, and that's really unusual and unfortunate. And they're all related to the same event happening. I probably do a terrible job explaining exactly what happened, but the initial outage occurred, and it was really difficult to diagnose, so they opened up a section of line to basically get as many customers back on as possible and more quickly so they could continue to diagnose what exactly happened. Well, after they did that, something broke. And this was during the 5-minute outage we were supposed to have, so something broke during that, turned it into an hour outage, and then the third outage was basically to fix what broke during the second one. But anyway, I just want to say I appreciate the public's understanding and patience with that. That's not typical for HUD. I thought you all deserved an explanation for that. Our gas department is currently replacing gas main through town. And there's a map on our website. For customers that are affected, if they have questions, please direct them back to HUD. We'll get their questions answered. Generally, the biggest concerns you're going to hear is when's my yard going to be cleaned up and when's the road going to be repaired. And we definitely want to assure the public that the restoration will be as good or better than what it was before the project began. So we'll make sure we take care of that. On the water side, it's a little bit early, but I want to go ahead and mention that we're going to be replacing water meters this year. About 2,800 of our customers will be affected, so that's over half of our customers. This will start around April, and I hope to have a little bit more detail about who will be and who won't be affected. But typically, right in the city, the older part especially, we're going to save them for last, so they probably won't be in this first round because it usually takes a little bit more time. You never know what you're going to encounter. The sewer department, our biggest concern right now is Bullard Ford, and I appreciate city manager's time and Charlie Jones's time actually. for working with us, and Mr. Wright and Mayor Best for coordinating and having a meeting with me about that. But it looks like FEMA has scheduled some meetings. We'll attend those. I think you all are invited next week to kind of talk about the process moving forward. But we've got a couple of different ideas, and we're actively working on an application. Briefly mention that the water and sewer rate study has been completed, and we will have a response to the state by the end of the month to comply with all the deadlines that were in that first order from back in September. Any questions?
Do I have anything for Ms. Candace?
Thank you.
I'm gonna, these was given to me by Candace. I think somebody had donated them, but I'm gonna give them to Mr. Holly, since he is part of the historical part, to put in our showroom down there in the museum. And we appreciate you bringing those to us.
Absolutely. Those were donated by John King. He's an engineer that does consulting for us. His mother lived in Harriman, and so did he for a long time. Those were in her storage that he found after she passed away.
These are great.
Happy to donate those to the city.
Thank you for that, Candace.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, I think on that outage, it was just a bad luck day, wasn't it?
It was a very bad day.
I know, but I think that third one hit me when I had my CPAP on to sleep. And I was about to suffocate.
Yeah.
It's about 11 o'clock here today. You ain't sleeping?
No, it was at night. But that's okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Public Works? Hang on before you get started. I messed up getting on them books. Now they're looking to see how many railroads are in.
Hey, listen, I know what I've been doing anyway. I know Mr. Holly does. So we cut 2 big trees, pine trees there on Smith Lane. Put Jim Shelby down. We've been putting up some poles and stop signs that's wore out. Cut 3 big trees down on Virginia Street. We got them, buddy.
Yeah, you did.
And my boys done a good job. They was real big trees. So we cut back some alleys, and we cut on the bank on Crescent, going up the hill off of Swanee. We cut that whole bank side off the right of way. And we've still been getting brush every day. And still getting some leaf pickup, done some patching down McDonald's, when you come out of it, done some out here on the highway. And plan on doing more of it when the weather breaks. It's a good hot day.
Thank you. Anybody have anything, Mr. Lyman?
Thank you for what y'all do, right? I rode around with him today, and he showed me everything they did, and they did a lot of work. They cleaned up a lot of stuff.
They've been busy.
Appreciate it, sir. Parks and Rec?
Okay, I want to thank Kevin Ayers and Scott Gwynn for being here tonight to put us on the board, Park and Rec board, a lot of things we got going on. But right now, I guess we're doing basketball. We've got a few weeks left in basketball. Had a great season so forward. Probably into, I think our last tournament's going to be at the end of this month, the 29th. So we're getting that going. Started the baseball signups last week, and we've already got over 70 kids signed up for baseball. And that'll be going through February the 22nd. And we'll be going in from there, choosing teams, and have our grand opening ceremony is going to be April the 4th. And we're going to do it all at the Flour Mill Flats Complex with baseball, softball, and wee-ball. We're going to do that again this year. A lot of people calling about that. So that kind of leads me into kind of one reason we're all here tonight. I mean, I've asked for support as we talked about the fields at the Flour Mill Flat Complex. So during the storm last year, we had I think we've actually applied for like a $30,000 FEMA grant or something to help get our money back on, to help get the complex where it needs to be. And if anybody's played down there, I know that's just even talking to Kevin Scott how bad the field is, the outfield, how much work it needs to be done there. So with the $30,000, you see the blue line where get the riprap going down through there. And I actually talked to Matt Laddie, come over to see exactly what we need to do. to get our fields back, because he's even said it's become a safety issue now from the outfield to infield. You know, it's way high. The home plates are way high. We need a lot of work done there, and I know we've been talking about it, you know, for a while, but you know, I'd like to I want to come to get a price, see if I can get a bid on somebody to come in and fix our 3 fields there at the, you know, at Flour Mill Flats. I think something that needs to be done. I think it's become a safety issue now with the drainage problem. We're spending so much money. We're spending $3,000 or $4,000 a year just on the quick dry to try the water up. You know, we're playing on it. We've got softball, we've got baseball. We even got the high school softball and the middle school softball teams coming there playing. So Jake and the guys have done their best. I mean, working really hard at keeping the fields up and probably the best they can. But I think now is the time we really need to look at the field and see if it's time to get something done about it. And this, from what we're looking at here, and the price we probably got, an estimate. I like to get more bids, but come back through here just for this, doing all the work around in here is probably about $30,000. This is what we've asked FEMA for, $30,000. Hopefully we can get up to $30,000 if we go through. I know Mr. Helms has been working on this back and forth with them, and Kenny with some other stuff. They keep asking for things there, but working on this to get our $30,000. It'll probably feature $60,000 to get the complex where it needs to be. And but I would like to ask the council if we can maybe just take bids to find out exactly what it would be to fix them the way they need to be.
I'd like to make a motion that we,
Let's,
if we can allow him to do some bids on that, because it's really a time crunch to get that done, if we can do it.
let's, if you don't mind, let's wait till the end, and if you only get to waive the agenda rule, and it seems like we waived a lot. If you only waive to give him permission to get bids, you're not approving to spend any money. You're just, that way, if they do get the FEMA money, they're ready to go. But we'll do that at the end if you only waive the agenda rule.
Okay.
Anything else?
Yeah. I think just one other thing, Natasha's really been working, at the community center. A lot of things still going on. Her biggest thing she's doing this year is going to be the Valentine's Day event on February the 11th. That's next Tuesday at the community center. She's partnered with Paint and Party Plus to have from I think 4 to 11, having ladies and stuff come in. It's like $5. They'll do a painting and stuff too. But just like to get that out there. Any questions?
Anybody have anything?
You're doing a good job, Charlie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Library.
I want to let everybody know that the computers are set up with voter registration on them, so people can come in and register to vote at the library real easy. It's just right there on the computer on the icon. All they do is click on it. And the Census Bureau has been setting up at the library, letting people know that there is jobs available with the Census Bureau to take census this summer, this spring and summer. And the library is also equipped for people to come in and fill it out on the computer also. We did receive the tech grant, and we have not received them yet, but we have purchased 2 laptops and 2 new desktops with monitors. And these, of course, then everything in the library will be updated so that it's all as advanced as it can be for what we have. And we have new books on order, and new books has already come in. The children's programs are going really well. With the homeschool program, did blessing bags. Actually, they've done 53 blessing bags for the homeless. Miss Yvonne Yates, she's been working with getting all the different areas if someone needs help in a database so that they can find where they can go to get help. And anyway, we made 53 blessing bags that had toothbrushes and toothpaste in it and scarves and just essential things that someone might need. But the preschool program the two of them is growing strong, and so is their homeschool program. And of course, we'll be having Valentine parties next week. And the top grant I have not heard back from, but hopefully I will be able to offer computer classes again soon, along with coding. And of course, if you need a library board member, which I think you all already have that information.
How many members are you short?
How many members do we have on the board now?
How many are you short?
Short, we're actually short two. This will take care of one, I'm going to be down to someone. I had two to resign in the fall.
Any questions for the library?
Thank you.
Kurt?
Just a few things. Our tax collection at this point is 56%. That's 1% more than this time last year, so we're pretty well on track there. I finished reviewing our financial report and made some changes and got it back to the auditor. Looks like it's pretty good shape and will be published pretty soon. Excuse me. Some of the highlights I'd like to go over with you. During the 2019 year period, the assets of the city, including HUB, exceeded its liabilities by $66 million. And that was an increase of $469,000. The city's governmental activities in that position increased by $977,000, but the HUB's net position decreased $508,000. So at the close of the current fiscal year, the city governmental funds combined ending fund balances was $3,156,096, and basically the fund balance grew slightly by about $206,000 over 2018, but the unassigned fund balance for the general fund was $1.9 million. So when you get the report, there's some good sections in there that define the retirement program. I went through all of it, and it's well laid out this time. And so those of you who are confused by the retirement program and all the aspects of it, this lays it out very well. And so I advise you to read it. It's in the notes to the financial report. So that's all I have.
Do I have anything for Dr. Curley? Thanks, sir. Appreciate it. Appreciate what you do.
Thank you.
City Attorney?
I'm still working on property maintenance cases. I have several more to file. Code enforcement has really been helpful in trying to locate people. Part of the issue in these is I can't move forward in court until I get them served, because sometimes the tenant and the owner are different people. So one of our more difficult properties in particular, we just found out the owner has passed away, but we're in contact with a relative who seems to be willing to work with us, so we can move forward with that. I also have the city annexation property tax case with Gerald Largen this month. Our trial date is set February 20th at 9 a.m. in the Chancery Court. I also received a phone call today from the Chancellor's office. Mr. Largen has scheduled a motion to be heard February 11th at 9 a.m. I don't have a copy of that motion in hand, so I can't specifically tell you what he's asking the court for that day, but I'll be in court February 11th, and then the trial, depending what happens on the 11th, is February 20th. And I'm working on retaining a court reporter to be present on the 20th so we can have a verbatim transcript of what happens that day.
Okay. Is that usually how it happens? The Chancery calls and says somebody wants to, and we just all of a sudden have to pop up and be there?
For a motion, he's supposed to give me 5 days notice, and he was calling the chancellor's office to see if there was an available motion date before the 20th, and was asking if I was available on the first day he offered. I can't go because I have court elsewhere. And then they said, what about February 11th? So he should get it in the mail. I mean, that's still gonna be short notice mailing it to me, but
Okay.
we'll see.
Anybody have anything for the city attorney? Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Helms.
Wanted to update you on a few of the projects. With the Margrave Drive project, we have received our permit from TDEC as well as from the Corps of Engineers that we needed to move forward with that project. The engineers are currently working with various utilities to incorporate their comments into the plans so that they can submit them back to TDOT for review and hopefully get approval from TDOT for us to start the bidding on the project in March. With regard to the rural development funding program for the building purchase and demolition, all the information has been submitted to the USDA that was initially requested. Because the budget did increase a little bit from what we originally submitted due to the inclusion of the demolition in the project, they did request a little bit of additional financial information. So we've been working, putting that together, and should be able to give all of that to them by the end of this week. And then at that point, it will be submitted from the East Tennessee region to the Nashville region, where the funding decision is made with regard to the project. On the LPRF project, all the information has been submitted to TDEC for review with regard to the splash pad, the site plan for the property that includes the parking, lighting, the various amenities that would be on site. They've had that information for about a week now. They're reviewing it, and as soon as they respond back to us, hopefully with an approval, then we'll be able to place the order for the equipment as well as start finalizing the site plan, which is needed to go out for bid on the project. And spoke with someone late last week from TDOT with regard to the interstate lighting project. We were discussing a few final details with regard to the budget and funding mechanism for that project, and I would anticipate us receiving the contract next week so that we would have that available for you to approve and have the mayor sign at our next council meeting. And that's all I've got. I'll be glad to take questions.
Questions for Mr. Helms? What's the, I know that we all had an email that said that the building was prolonged till the end of January, that Covenant had given us till the end of January by it. We're in February, and I don't think we've heard anything. Where are we at on that?
I spoke with Mr. Birmingham with Covenant today. He had been out of town and was going to call me when he got back in town. He intended to do so last week and just got behind trying to catch up on things. But we talked today. I updated him with regard to where we were, and he plans to call me again in 10 days unless I hear something prior to that, at which point I'll be calling him to let him know.
What are we waiting to hear? I guess where I'm confused, we've been dealing with this for 6 months. I can buy a house quicker than we bought a building. I don't know what we're holding up on.
We're just waiting on USDA to grant the approval to.
Does it take USDA 6 months to give us approval? I mean, if it does, we need to find a new lending agency.
Their process that we've been going through.
Anybody have anything? City Manager. Thanks, sir.
I will note that we have already submitted a request to purchase the building prior to the closing of documents, which would expedite the purchase, which is allowable, so that we would actually purchase the building out of fund balance, and then once the project is funded by USDA, we would be able to reimburse ourselves out of the funding. So we've already submitted that request, so that it went in with the application to expedite it.
New business, discuss and possibly approve appointment to the Walden Ridge Zoning Overlay Design Review Committee. I'd like to recommend Laura Dishman, she lives at 413 Warrior Lane in West Hills, to serve on that committee.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Wright,
I'll second it.
second by Councilman Johnson. Councilman Wright.
Nothing.
Councilman Johnson.
No, sir.
Floor is open for discussion. Call the roll, please.
Buddy Holly?
Yes.
Jim Johnson?
Yes.
Kenny Me?
Yes.
Lonnie Wright?
Yes.
Motion carries. We're going to skip the other two, go down to item D, discuss and possibly approve purchasing cardiac compression for fire department, for the FEMA grant.
Mayor and council, what this is, due to the buy board that the city deals with, we don't have to bid the AEDs and the compression, cardiac compression. So what I'm asking for tonight is to approve to spend up to $32,152, and that'll be grant money. And I'll be coming back at a later date and presenting the trailer part that we got. We're still working on that part. Kenny has put a lot of time into dealing with FEMA, trying to get everything situated, a lot of emails, a lot of phone calls and stuff, but they approved that, we can go ahead and purchase that, just have to present it to you all.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Wright to allow the fire department to spend $32,150 out of the FEMA grant to buy the cardiac compression.
I'll second it.
Second by Councilman Johnson. Councilman Wright.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about this.
The compression device is a device that will wrap around the individual that is in cardiac arrest, and it frees up a personnel to be doing something else, maybe be dealing with the family or whatever, and it does the chest compressions for us. And the outcome of the scene is a whole lot better than an individual doing chest compressions due to, after 15, 20 minutes of doing CPR waiting on an ambulance, you get tired. If you ain't enough people to rotate out, but that machine's gonna be doing it the whole time. And, it's gonna free personnel up, and that person's gonna have a better chance. The AEDs will help cover the other vehicles that we have that does not have AEDs. So, and hopefully, the prices that we have got, it might be going back and submitting some more paperwork to FEMA to get more equipment, that we can probably double our equipment. So,
Can you adjust the compression?
now, as far as that part, I do not know.
Oh, okay. I just thought, if it's a child or someone on the inside say it's adjusted.
I would say it's got adjustments on it. I have not looked into that, as far as that deep into it, Lonnie, but
Let us know when you get it so we can come look at it.
yeah, most certainly, I sure will.
Thank you.
We're excited to get it. And thank you, guys.
Councilman Johnson.
I think it'd be a great purchase. It could save a lot of lives. That's all I've got.
Floor is open for discussion. Is the funds already been put in from FEMA, or do we get reimbursed on that?
We don't have anything yet. They were talking about getting the funds before the spending. I hope that's true. I don't know. Can you answer that?
The way Kenny understood it was the grant, they will probably, he said it was a unique grant. They will probably be sending the money as soon as we get this part done and tell them that we're gonna be purchasing. They'll send the money to the city, and we'll be able to purchase that way. It will not affect the city.
Any other questions? Call roll.
Buddy Holly?
Yes.
Tim Johnson?
Yes.
Kenny Me?
Yes.
Lonnie Wright?
Yes. Motion carries. Would council like to waive the agenda rule to allow, to vote on whether to let the city take some bids to see what it would cost on the construction of the ball fields in the water park?
Yes.
Is that a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Councilman Johnson makes a motion to waive the agenda rule. Second by Councilman Wright. Councilman Johnson, any discussion about it?
It's in bad shape.
Floor's open for discussion, just to waive the agenda rule.
And you're just getting the bid on the small field?
On the small field,
Yeah. There's what you're bidding
on
all
the
three
Flower
of them.
Mill Flats, all three of those fields there.
It will, what you're thinking is 30,000 is all three fields? or
No,
just
I'm
the
sorry,
blue?
30,000 is just what we're trying to get, just around there with the retention pond, and riprap all around that there.
Call the roll on waiving the agenda rule.
Buddy Holly?
Yes.
Tim Johnson?
Yes.
Kenny Me?
Yes.
Lonnie Wright?
Yes.
Motion carries. You all have heard Mr. Jones tell what he's wanting to waive the agenda rule for was to just get bids, not to spend any money to see what the cost would be, so we'd have the money for FEMA when they're looking at it. I know they've been calling and asking a lot of questions, they've been wanting a lot of paperwork, so I know the city's been getting that to them. So looking for a motion to approve to let them take bids.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Councilman Johnson, second by Councilman Wright. Councilman Johnson.
It's in real bad shape. It would really improve. And plus, he brought up the safety issue. I would rather go ahead and get that done and not have to worry about the kids getting hurt down there. That's all I've got.
Thanks, sir. Councilman Wright.
No.
Floor is open for discussion. Call roll, please.
Buddy Holly?
Yes.
Tim Johnson?
Yes.
Kenny Me?
Yes.
Lonnie Wright?
Yes.
Motion carries. Councilman comments, Councilman Johnson.
I have any. I don't have any.
Councilman Wright.
No.
Councilman Holly.
No, sir.
Councilman Meade.
No, sir.
I don't have anything tonight. Appreciate everybody coming out. Enjoy the wet weather. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Motion to adjourn. Second?
Second.
All in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed, like sign?
Now call the meeting to order. Joe, would you call the roll, please?
Robert Miller.
Here.
Jeff Bass.
Here.
Kenny Brown.
Here.
Stacy Silver.
Here.
Terry Holland.
Here.
Don Shillings. We got 5 out of 6. We got a quorum.
Stand for the pledge. Attention, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you lead us in prayer, Joe?
Our most gracious and loving Heavenly Father, we approach thy throne of grace with great humility and reverence and respect and awe about what you have done and what you are doing and what you shall do in the future, what you promised us, and the commitments you've asked of us as your children. We pray that we can honor those commitments. We pray that we can invite the Holy Spirit into our hearts and souls and minds, where we can deliberate in such a way as to take care of the needs of our citizens and our community and bring honor and glory to you.
Yeah.
We pray for our government officials and our citizens at all levels, that you would give them the peace and the justice and mercy where they can debate, but not have this terrible hatred one to the other, as we know that hatred is a cancer that eats in our hearts and can destroy our thoughts and minds and souls, and even our nation. We pray for our servicemen and women at home and abroad, that you would give them peace and comfort and strengthen them and their families. We ask all that in my son's name. Amen.
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 need to approve the minutes from the last meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review those?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Got a motion, need a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mark Miller,
Yes.
Jeff Bass,
Yes.
Kenny Brown,
Yes.
Stiltner,
Yes.
Terry Holland.
Yes.
Passed.
Delegations from citizens. Any citizens have anything to bring forward? Yes, come forward, please. I know you. State your name and address, please.
Bronson Woods, 110 Windrock Road.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Woods.
Anytime I come to a meeting or somewhere and there's a pledge of allegiance and then there's prayer, I know I'm with my people, and that was really good to hear.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm at 110 Windrock Road, right there on the curve. I think most people know where the Ingrams used to live there. Well, that's where I live now. On the right side of my driveway, I have about 2 acres that's flat right there, road frontage. Behind that 2 acres, there's a row of trees and there's another little bit of property. Well, there's portable buildings that you see them on the side of the road out here. You can buy these portable buildings and put them up. Well, I was thinking about putting 3 of those portable buildings out there, or building them myself, making them into like little cabins, and then eventually renting those cabins out. And as I was going through the ordinances and whatnot, I looked at a lot of stuff, but I didn't see much in there in the amendments or anything about zoning. And so I have no idea about zoning. I just want to, go by things the right way. And so I figured I'd come here and maybe get some questions answered.
The first thing you'd have to do is to make plats of it. Your dimensions, whatever you want to do, you'd have to bring it before the planning commission. Then they might have to do a board of zoning appeals.
Which is actually Monday. Planning
But
commission.
it canceled because we didn't have any business.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just got the message today.
Okay.
But that's what, Mr. Bronson, that's what you need to do is have your plan. It would have to be rezoned because that right now is zoned for R1 or C1. It's for low density housing, whatever. And it would have to be rezoned, and then it would have to be approved, the type buildings we're going to put up. Right now, we still got the thing on the sewer where we can't plug anybody else into the sewer until they raise that from us. And that's in the near future, we hope, that they'll raise that where we put sewer back, make sewer taps again. But if you'll come down and we'll go over everything with you and list it, see what you need. And
Yeah, so I need to get plots made or just a blueprint, is that what it is?
well, you can make one like that, but when it comes down to the time you're going to do it, I would have a survey blocked off, subdivided in the individual, unless because you can't call it a park. You got to have so many units like a trailer park. It has to have minimum 12 units to start out with.
Yeah, don't want to do that.
And so we might have to get with some expertise with our planners, that state furnish it. Well, we pay for them, but we have a planner that goes into all that stuff in depth and get him with you. Okay. And make sure we don't have any, start out right. That's the important thing.
Yeah, we just had a situation with Coker Real Estate, Scott Coker, Eric Coker, Mr. Coker. We did it very backwards. But anyways, we like to get it right the first time on the front end.
Yeah.
Come to the planning commission. Dan Hawk is the gentleman who is the planner.
I talked to him, he's the one that told me.
Yes,
here, so.
and so, and usually, well, Mayor informed me that the planning commission has been canceled for this coming Monday, but the next one that comes up, get with Mr. Hawk and
okay.
It's always a third Monday.
Yes,
okay.
And get it on the agenda, and we'll review everything, tell you every step you need to take, and
Do I need to bring, is there any work that I need to do before that meeting?
I would have it proposed.
yes.
Proposed, even if it's a pencil drawing, I'd have it proposed what you proposed to do.
Okay.
You should get your land
Subdivided.
surveyed or surveyed, or like a blueprint or
Deed.
I forgot the language.
Google map.
Yes.
Like a Google map.
Mayor,
Joe knows the name.
what you would need to do, and I'm not sure the exact sequence, because it can cost you several $1,000s for a survey, but the planning commission is looking for your property is zoned residential, probably single family, single dwelling residential. And what you would have to do is have it zoned for multifamily residential or maybe a commercial operate. You know, if you were gonna build rental houses like a year at a time or something like that, that's one thing. If you're gonna have short-term rentals for the Windrock Park up there, then that may be more of a commercial.
Okay.
But you would employ your surveyor to survey your property. Your surveyor would know the exact lot size that your project would have to have in order to comply with zoning. Hopefully your surveyor would. If he didn't, that'd be part of his responsibility. Then he would draw a plat that would show a proposed building. Say you want 3 structures and you've got 4 acres. Well, you might have a 1/4 acre for each house, and it would show a footprint of that house, proposed house, on each of your 1/3 acre lots, and it probably would show in a general way your remaining acreage, so they could get the planning commission and the building inspector to get a perception about how this proposal would fit into the existing maps. And see, on top of that, even if you had that done today, there's a moratorium put on our sewer system by the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation, TDEC. It says we can't have any more sewer taps. And so you may be 6 months or a year waiting on a sewer tap. And so if you spend $2,000 or $3,000 over the next 30 days, and you can't get a sewer tap, you spent $2,000 or $3,000 for a map, that may or may not be appropriate a year or 2 years from now when we get the sewer taps in. You also need to know that there's parking requirements, and you know, you can have 1 bedroom or 2 bedrooms, or ever how many people you're going to have facilities available, and see, all that would be factored in to your survey and your building permits that you would issue. And then once you have completed this, and the Planning Commission or the Board of Zoning Appeals or both have approved that, building inspector gives you a building permit, then you start turning dirt.
Okay.
And see, that could take 6 months and several $1,000s of survey cost. And the downside is that if you didn't get approved, you spent several $1,000s and a bunch of time.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely going to, as long as it's possible, I'm going to, move forward with it. I did go to, I got a letter from the city that said that I was denied a sewer tap, but I'm able to put a septic tank in.
You are.
So I think I'll be okay there. But as far as the
The
survey,
city authorized you, the health department authorized you to put in a septic tank and drain field.
You gotta go to the health department for that.
Yeah. So
Well, say for a septic tank and drain field, depending on how many bedrooms you have, it has to perk. And I assume that property would perk, but I'm kind of surprised because if there's a sewer line within a reasonable distance that's got the appropriate grade, they won't give you permission.
They right now they will, as long as you're under a moratorium.
Yeah.
As long as you're what?
As long as you're under a moratorium that you cannot hook this sewer, but you have to have the health department approve that plot for that.
Okay.
And doing that, they'll perk it. They'll come up and have a guy dig a hole 18 inches deep, and they'll time it, fill it with water, see how long it takes.
Yeah.
You're also in a little wetland there, a little flood zone, so.
Yeah, Don Lachey was the, I don't know if you guys know or not, but he came out and perked it last week. And so there is a spot that'll work there.
But you probably have to have a septic tank and drain field for each
See, I don't
building.
know that yet.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because see, if you have 3 1-bedroom units, you have to have a certain size septic tank and a certain distance fill line that has to perk and has to fit into your subdivision plan. And see, I don't know whether you need 3, in my example, 3 1/3 acre lots or 1 large lot that's got 3 structures on it.
I don't
You
know
might
either.
possibly tie it together in 1 drain field and septic tank. That'd certainly be less expensive, but the health department may control that.
Yeah, and that's fine. I'm not there yet. I think the most important thing was to to get here with you guys and get some insight, just to see which direction I need to go. And it sounds like get a plot together and come to the meeting is the first.
There'll be setback distance between them, et cetera.
Yes.
The one out here on the highway on the right, that was put in without proper approval. Where he's got all the little outbuildings,
On the right, on the right, on the
right with the Mexican restaurant on this side.
Oh, yeah, okay.
All the little outbuildings they use as free yard sales.
Yeah.
He's not supposed to have but 1, for instance.
Oh, okay.
With qualifications for the planning commission, he can have up to 3, but he can't have just 1 on the initial thing.
Okay.
But those are not examples. They can't be that close, for instance.
Yeah, right, okay.
Of course, now, like, they don't have to be as far apart as Windrocks either, because that's what they are. They're a park that's spread out, you know.
Yeah.
But there is setback requirements and all of it from building to building, and it's not that bad. You got plenty of room.
You're thinking more like a nightly thing, aren't you?
Yes, weekend, that's it. Just on the weekends.
Classified something else too.
Well, that's still going to throw us into another overnight thing we're running.
Yeah.
We don't have any procedures.
Yeah, we're working on it in the planning commission.
I was gonna work with you today, so I'll, like I said, I'll, you know, do the things that I need to do to, you know, get a Google map, and just put some stuff together, and then come to the meeting, and then I'll go to a survey maybe or something.
Yeah.
Just get some information. Get a hold of Dan Hawk,
Yeah.
and he'll tell me when that meeting
I
is.
got his numbers and stuff if you need them. Just third Monday of the month. So it'll be the third Monday next month.
All right, sounds good. That's what I needed, folks.
Thank you, Bronson.
Thank you so much.
See you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other citizens or anyone in the audience who will speak? Okay, we don't have that many in the audience, do we?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
We got the flyer, the Mamie Carmichael School Organization will have a Soul Food Sunday on Sunday, February 9th, 2020, from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. at the DAV building on Kingston Avenue. They've got a menu. Of course, last year it was real good. The plates are $20 per adult, and as I can recall, is all you could eat. $10 for the child ages 4 through 11, and children 3 and under eat free. And I'm sure if Julia Daniels were here, she would encourage everybody to come. I came last year and the year before. Some of you have been there, and I'm sure you'd echo the thought that if they're not serving it, you don't need to eat it, because they had a huge menu for
Well
your
worth the money.
dinner, and they had a huge menu for dessert. They had breads and they had drinks, and it's worth. And you better come early, because there'll be a big crowd.
And it's for a good cause. It's a fundraiser, and it's every penny they get goes back into the Carmichael group, Mamie Carmichael School Group and organization, and it's a good meal. And you can order it and pick it up, or you can eat in place. Did she put a phone number on that, Joe? I'm looking, I don't see one.
I don't either.
How we're gonna pick it up? I guess I can give her phone number out next time. We'll have another meeting before that date. Okay, is that all you have on the reading?
Oh, yeah, I just want to make sure that we,
Copy of this will be on the board out here in front or on the, by the Water Department.
and maybe Dudley
With
can
the
put it
menu.
on his TV too.
Yeah, did you get a copy? There's one up there, okay.
Yeah, we get it. Thank you, Joe.
Is that it, that covered from the audience? Thank you for that update for them, Joe. Okay, I'm gonna update a few things. The restroom and concession stand building at the park is going well. Our biggest holdup right now is the brick masons, and trying to get a brick mason right now is almost near impossible. I tried all afternoon, and Thomas thought we had it set up before he went on the cruise. Evidently, that didn't work out, and the electrical is ready for inspection. We got to put the ceiling in the overhang on the porch, whatever you want to call that, and the brick, and we'll be well on our way in backfill, and that thing should be open in a while if we get brick. That won't be long at all. The other thing was we want to continue to ask for grace and mercy on our leaf pickup, etc. With the weather being like it is, we might be some people out there that still don't have leaf pickup because the vacuum won't work for wet leaves very good. And if you'll keep us, if you feel that you missed it on cause of weather or vacation times and the rain, etc., just call and we'll try to pick it up for you. That's all I have at the present time. City manager's report is similar to what I just gave. It has nothing to do with the water. This is not a water board meeting, but the people that's lining our sewer is out of town now, so we shouldn't have as much mess in the roads and the yards as we've been having with those trucks and things. So we're just working on our lift stations now. Then we'll be through the sewer for a while, I hope. And I think that's probably what he would have touched on. And if anybody knows of a brick mason, or if anybody sees this on TV Saturday morning and you're interested in laying some bricks, contact us. I don't know, have 1,000 bricks there, or 4,000 or 5,000, I guess.
but it's not a large building, but we would consider hiring him, especially if we can get the building marked where we can continue working. Right now, we can't do some of the work because we don't have the brick mark for the ceiling that goes on the outside. Okay, Mr. Miller.
Yes, sir. I spoke to someone at the Roane County zoning office last week about this mess out here at Melhorns, and they informed me that that is our issue because it is a code violation for the city, not for the,
Who did you talk to?
not for them. The young lady down there at the desk.
Oh, at Kingston.
Yeah, and she said that someone called her and she didn't get the name, but she is pretty sure that that property is in the process of being sold. She gave me the number. It's a crossful number that if I wanted to call, I will give that number to you tomorrow. But they called inquiring on the property and stuff. But she said that anything to be issued as far as citations, it was through our codes guy to issue citations for all that stuff sitting down there. She said all that Glenn and them would issue citations for is if it was an unsafe structure.
Well, I think we've mentioned once before, we called TDEC, or not TDEC, environmental, which TDEC is involved in also, but they looked at it once and said that no foul, no harm, no foul, whatever. To me, it's wetlands, and it's also offsetting floodplain.
Yeah, because they're encroaching on Poplar Creek back there, they're pinching it off back in there.
So, give me the number tomorrow.
I've got it at home, but yeah, I'll give it to you tomorrow.
Okay.
Chief, that red light at Food City,
Still acting up.
we need to get a hold of Progressive. That thing's going on flash at 10 o'clock at night. And it's coming off flash on the red at 4:30 in the morning.
There's many pictures out there to show you how to look at
I think
it.
we're gonna have to get them to replace that computer again. They can set it and in 2 or 3 weeks it's back out of whack again. I'll call over tomorrow and get them.
It also changes when there's no side traffic, like there should be no reason it turns red, but nobody's, I would think, so that's off too.
Now, it turn red unless it's on constant flash for those at night.
Yeah, it
Any other time
cycles through by itself.
We don't have sensors on the side. I thought it would stay green till somebody hit the side.
The sensors don't work real good.
No, it's, I think, is it not on timers now?
It's on timers right now.
Yeah. They'll stay red on the side.
It's sort of like at 4 a.m.
It
It changes red, and these guys want to work the plant.
Yeah.
They're getting disturbed over it.
But yeah,
I'll call them back tomorrow and get them back out on them again.
okay, but yeah, it's changing like at 9:30, at 10 o'clock at night, it's on flash. And
Sound like it's working, it's just the time's off or something.
Well, I think what it is, they come out and they'll set the times on it, and then a few weeks later, it's back off again, so they, I think when they put that computer in, they may have put a used one in it, so they may have to come back out.
And the brain, it's just lost its memory in the brain.
Yeah, whatever it was, that power surge, whatever hit, it may have burnt something else up in it too, so I'll get them back on it.
Okay. That's all I got, sir.
Okay, Mr. Bass?
I have another one this time.
Okay, Mr. Brown?
The update on the bridge, heard anything?
On the noise?
Yeah.
No, Mr. Brown in Kingston was on vacation on a cruise or whatever. He's got a work order, I think, to have it rewelded.
Tell me something else. I was just curious, a gentleman a while back come in to us with animals for prisoners, wanting more money. And I'm just curious, what does he do when we have bad weather like we've had in the last several months? Does he not work at all?
He does work on it. Sometimes he comes and works on equipment.
But he don't have no 40-hour week.
No, he works 5 days a week except the holidays.
Where does he work 5 days a week at?
Well, he's got the inmates 5 days a week.
Well, I don't think I've seen them 5 days a week this time of year.
Yeah, they're here. They're here 5 days a week.
Yeah. I'm just curious to know, because when he comes back and wants another contract and want more money, that we say, well, you don't work a full schedule. How we base it to say that you're gonna want more money? Are we gonna pay you more money
Well,
and you
for
don't work a
instance,
40-hour week?
You hadn't seen them, even during the rain, they've been trying to get leaves and stuff picked up. So I'm not sure I see them every morning, bring them in, I see them take them out in the evenings. I don't see them every hour during the day.
Yeah, well, but I'm just saying, is that some kind of schedule that we could show us to where he's, getting them, bringing them out here and stuff? I mean.
Well, they got us, prison's got the schedule, they'll show us sign out, sign in on them.
Yeah, I understand
We can too. But as I'm telling you now, he took one day off for the holidays because they were off for the holidays.
Right, I understand this time of year though, that, if we get bad weather, I don't think they're gonna be out here working, are they?
They work in the shop, they work anywhere they can, just like the people in lawn crew that's working on this building. In the rain, they couldn't work outside until they got dried in.
Yeah, I understand that part of it.
So they went to the DAV and worked, for instance. Any inside work we had, they would stay in Oliver Springs, because once they go back, we lose them.
Yeah.
And if we start turning these guys back in, we lose them. So they're here.
Well,
They're here.
that's what I'd like to see, something if we could show us a schedule.
Okay.
I mean, because I'd like to see him get more money, but I'd like to see also where he shows me that he's working. I mean, I work a 40-hour week in my life, and he's
here, and they're usually doing something. They're in the shop, or working on the lawnmowers, or cleaning them up, or sharpening blades, or doing shelving.
That's something I'd like you to put together,
Sure.
the city manager put
We can
together.
do it. We can do that.
And show us a little more,
I can do that.
duties. And I know he works, and I know he does good, but, it would help us when he want more money, and I'm sure when he comes back to his next contract, that he will want more.
We'll get it.
Okay, all right.
Anything else?
That's all I got.
Okay. Mr. Stiltner.
Yeah, Mr. Best, the pothole got fixed, did
Yes.
it not? I thought it did.
Yes, I wasn't gonna say nothing about it, yes,
Yes.
they paved it up, it's really nice, they put the asphalt in it.
It really is.
And it saves, I've
Yes.
heard no more complaints.
Yeah, well, I tested it out last night and I thought, I didn't fall 2 feet in the hole. So, that was very
Now
nice.
go get my truck fixed? No.
So, but, Mayor, I would like to just take a minute and recognize 3 local high school football players who made the all-state team. So I'd like to just read a little clip from the Roane County News. The accolades keep coming for Roane County